Okay, welcome back to my channel. I apologize for not having been around and being inconsistent with my postings. I've just got a lot going on right now. This is Madame Sharkhan. Remember, not all readings will resonate with every member of the collective. So how does your person feel about you today? Well, there are feelings here, but there's some misunderstandings in this relationship, and there needs to be an allocation regarding how the couple spends time together, how they give, how they practice give and take, how they engage in actions of reciprocity here. There has been a big drastic change in the relationship. There's been a huge death in this relationship, a huge ending. But you must understand that when it comes to the death card itself, this is something creating change and transformation, the end of ego in order to move forward in one's life or in one's relationships in a manner that the ego no longer impacts the decisions that the couple's making. So before this happens, we have the Six of Pentacles, and this is about give and take. Unfortunately, as you see, the scales don't look like they're balanced. We also get this oracle card, the scales of balance. Seek equilibrium in love and career, harmonizing your inner scale to weigh decisions with both heart and mind. And we see a couple that isn't exactly amalgamating both their heart and their mind in their decisions here. It's almost like they started the relationship off under certain materialistic mannerisms, objectives, etc., and then all of a sudden they start developing feelings. But because they entered the relationship from more so a transactional or materialistic perspective, maybe where vanity and their ego's concerned, and they gathered some sustenance from the relationship in the beginning, but something here's imbalanced, and as a result there was an end. And it's okay, because with that came this huge feeling of loss and abandonment and isolation and just sadness and a sense of illness, which means that these two people, the King of Swords and the Empress, have definite feelings for one another. But you have one member coming to the table with feelings of love and nurturing and a matriarchal kind of approach, bringing abundance and life and nurturing, guidance, coming to the table with the energy of Venus and Aphrodite. And then you get a male counterpart who is very strategic in their thinking, a clear communicator. This is somebody who is very logical. So we have two opposite ends of the spectrum here in combination with the Six of Pentacles and the scale of balance here in the Oracle cards. So it looks like this couple was having difficulty coming to terms with amalgamating each other, within each other, complementing each other, coming to the table, both communicating love and at the same time combining their loving feelings with their thoughts. And this happens a lot in relationships. It's really hard to combine your heart and your head together when making decisions. So when I see the Death card here in combination with all of these pentacles, I'm seeing that this relationship started probably from an ego. The ego of the couple was kind of pushing the relationship. Topics like vanity, a focus in on materialism, focus in on, personal appearances, what we look like versus what we're honestly thinking. And this relationship became something that was hard to maintain. You see here that the Oracle card came up for missing you, let's talk, reunion, longing. So this couple, I'm getting the sensation that both of them are not talking, but they miss each other and they want to communicate. And in this case, it's going to be rather easy, but at the same time, it's important that both the parties concerned understand how important it is to balance out their needs, balance out their effort, and come to a balance or a certain harmony between their heart and their head, instead of thinking too much with their mind, looking for the worst, looking for faults, analyzing the partner to the point where, to an extreme, I'm hearing to an extreme where the critique is constant. You know, this is the kind of guy that would be like, okay, I've got feelings, but I must focus in on her credit score. You know, I'm developing feelings for this woman, but I don't really understand how she functions. I'm going to focus in on, you know, what kind of grade point average that she had when she graduated from post-secondary school. You know, how does she hold her career together? What kind of decisions she make? This guy's going to analyze every decision she makes because he's developed feelings and he doesn't know how to proceed forward. He's very truth-seeking. He doesn't understand everything about this female, and he's never going to, because she is the Empress. She is motivated by entirely different senses than he is motivated. He's calculative. He is a mathematician. I don't know why I'm saying that, but I feel like he's very mathematical. This guy is very logical. He doesn't understand emotions, whereas the Empress is all about emotions. So we've got heart and head, and they've got to come together in kind of harmony to make the relationship work. And they started off good with this idea of give and take and reciprocity, but slowly the relationship became very transactional, and their ego and their, you know, their impulses started ruling the relationship, and the truth about how they were really feeling wasn't running the relationship. It was very superficial, and they started getting caught in a vicious cycle. And then when they left each other, they start feeling this sense of longing, missing one another, feeling like they've been left out in the cold, but both of them feeling this way for different reasons. I don't feel anything vindictive here, but the advice of this reading comes in the form of celestite, the angel heavenly stone. And I had to write these things down because I actually do a lot of homework on these gemstones and these crystals so that I can fully understand what they're trying to say. And this is a stone that is saying you need to call upon your spirit guides for guidance. You need to call upon your angels. And I find that wild because from my other oracle deck, the Archangel Michael popped out. Protection, prevented from harm, divine intervention. So I feel as if this relationship was heading, you know, it kind of went from like 0 to 100 all at once, where there was this sudden wave of ending, and it was very painful, but it was for a good reason, because the couple really needed to understand how much they cared for one another, needed one another, how much they feed off of one another, and how life is without each other in the picture. They really needed to see that. And Archangel Michael is protecting this connection until they can figure out how to proceed forward. And when it comes to the celestite gemstone or crystal, this is all about learning how to communicate with one another, having to be compassionate, having good listening skills, being very gentle and kind with one another, figuring out new problem solving skills, and, you know, before going to the table with one another, taking the time out to reflect and, you know, kind of meditate on, you know, where things went wrong and how you can balance the relationship better, balance each other's needs, balance your inner wants and your external wants, your heart and your head. It's very important for this relationship, because it looks like the way things were going before, some of the people or both members of the relationship were carrying a lot of responsibility, a lot of burdens in order to be with one another that they weren't really discussing. And the World card shows me that there is an end to this feeling of burden, responsibility, oppressing one's feelings, taking on too much in order to make the relationship work. This is all going to end, and it's all going to end as a result of this death coming in that takes the ego out of the relationship and replaces it with the energy of this celestite crystal with, you know, gentleness, loving, kindness, speaking, communication, getting guidance from a more loving source. It could be that there was other people involved in the situation that aren't enlightened individuals. And the result of this is the Six of Wands. And you get that in combination with, the Six of Pentacles and this balancing scales. And that's what it's about, finding balance and harmony. And it'll happen.